Hi, I'm Kathy Keene, WHBY's Good Neighbor. Thank you for joining me Crafting with Kathy. Today I am at Going to Pieces Quilt Shop at 1017 West Northland Avenue here in Appleton, and I'm going to show you how to make table mats. You can use a sewing machine or you can do it by hand, and today I'm going to show you how to do it by hand. What you're going to do is you're going to cut your squares into 2.5 inches. So you can cut as many as you want. As you can see, I'm just using leftover fabric. If you're not handy enough to cut 2.5 inch squares, you can buy them already cut. They sell them in most quilt shops, and as you can see, I have 3 different stacks of fabric that have been cut. But what I do is I sew all of these squares together. So the easiest way to do it is you can use your sewing machine, or when I'm on a motor coach trip, I like to sew, so I do it by hand, and all I'm doing is a running stitch. Putting the 2 pieces together, again, it's right sides of the fabric together. And there you have an easy, so now this is what I have together. You're going to press this, and I have a couple of these that I have done already, and once you have all of your rows, depending on how many rows you want, you're going to sew them together. And then you want to line up your seams, and you're going to sew this onto here, you're going to sew the next one onto here until you have all of your rows complete. And this is what it looks like when you have all of the rows sewn together. The next step is to measure out a piece of batting, and batting comes in all different types. There's bamboo batting, there's cotton batting. You're going to cut it a little bit larger than your piece that you have, than your squares. Plus you also need to have a piece of back fabric. So you can put these 3 pieces together, and on your sewing machine, this is where you're going to quilt it. And I do freehand, it's called stippling, so that all 3 pieces are bound together. The next step, after you have it quilted, you're going to square it off. And what I mean by squaring it off is you're going to take your rulers and you're going to make sure that the whole thing is square so that your edges are straight. Once you have that done, the next step is to find your binding. I have a 2-inch piece of fabric. You fold it in half and you're going to sew it. You're going to press it so that you have a nice crease in it. And you lay it on your piece, and you're going to sew this 1/4 inch from the end all the way around. And once you have that done, this is what your piece is going to look like. I already sewed this on. You're going to turn it over. It gets turned over to the back side, and this is where you hand stitch it. As you can see, when this is done, how nice that looks with your quilt mat. Now I made a couple of, here are some other ones that I use 2.5 inch square pieces of fabric that I have. This one is getting ready to be stitched. And then here is a completed one, and I made matching coasters to go with it. So it's a real easy gift that you can make for friends or family, and doesn't take a lot of knowledge to do this. I mean, if you can thread a needle and go in and out on your fabric, you can make these. So there you have Crafting with Kathy. Thank you for joining me.